this is what we'll see today. We'll study everything regarding it. Okay, so today we are starting with the Marxist theory of state. And what actually is Marxist theory? I'm trying to send it today, but to Marxist theory of state. Now, all of you are having pen and paper because I want you to note something which I've deliberately not put here. Or you want to gather it, then quickly do it in 1 minute. Now, try to understand something that I'm telling you. First of all, we are not studying Karl Marx political ideology in this module. That will happen in political ideologies class, okay, which we shall have later on when we will study Western political thinkers. Then we will study about Karl Marx, okay, in great details. It will take at least one class, maybe two classes to finish it. What we are doing now is the Marxist theory of state, which means one aspect of Karl Marx we are trying to see what were his views on state. What comes to your mind when I say state? Because I have discussed it yet already. What comes to your mind when I say state? Remember the four essential component of state? Yes, Krishna, good. Just correct the spelling of sovereignty. Yes. So why is state necessary? What did liberal tell us? What did liberals tell us? Not classic and neo-liberal, or just one common liberals. State is a necessary evil, right? Good, good, Sam, good. Marxist will remove the necessary part. So what it becomes? State is evil. State is evil. So Marxist will remove the necessary part, which means state is an evil, a Saturn. Okay, dusht hai. Hindi we call it. So why that? Why is the reason? For that we need to know little things, little small knowledge about Karl Marx theory. According to Karl Marx, what is the greatest sin in the world? To make money. Okay. A capitalist is the greatest sinner. You know who is a capitalist? Anyone who is having a capital. Now, capital has various forms. It can be in the form of liquid asset like money, cash, or it can be in the form of fixed asset. What is fixed asset? Land, factory, machinery in the factory, all of them are fixed asset. Money in your account is a liquid asset. Gold, less liquid than money, but more less liquid than land, but more liquid than money. Okay, gold is also somewhere close to cash. So all of these things are assets, right? So anyone who is having an asset and capital itself, capital. I'm spelling it. Anyone who in an asset and capital we shall treat as synonym for now. Okay, there is a difference, but that we are not seeing right now. So asset and capital is your punji, we call it in Hindi. Anything that belongs to you. Like you are living in a house, that house is your capital, house is your asset. Okay. Anything that you possess is your capital. A shopkeeper, the showroom of the shop is his asset or capital. The things kept in that shop is an asset. Okay. Even a small shopkeeper. Have you seen a small shopkeepers? Ready walas, we call it here. So that ready, that thela on which he puts up his maybe, I don't know what you eat there. In North India, we have so much of, chaat and other fast food stuff like Chinese and things like that. So whatever paper plates they keep, disposable glasses they keep, the ready on which it moves, it's his asset, it's his capital, because he has invested money into purchasing that vehicle which he will move on his hand. He has invested money on the raw material that he will possess and sell it to us, right? And there is a small board, there are two stools kept nearby the ready. So these are the small investments that he has made in order to earn money from them. So he is also a small time capitalist. Big time biggest capitalist is Mukesh Ambani, though he has become now sixth richest. After becoming poor, he has become sixth richest. Do you know this? So what if he was not poor? No, very quickly he has become, I guess, today or tomorrow sixth richest. I guess I read it somewhere. Maybe fourth or sixth, still not first. So he is the one of the biggest. He is the biggest capitalist of India and one of the biggest capitalists in the world. Okay. So anyone who is a capitalist is a sinner, according to Karl Marx. Now, why he says so and why he is hating capitalism so much, that we shall see when we will study political ideology and Karl Marx. But what are his views on state? See, Marx has divided society into two parts. What are the two parts? He is Karl Marx on your screen. His clothes certainly do not suggest that he is anti-capitalist, right? Spelling is wrong. It's proletariat and bourgeois. Now, these are two Marxist terminology, proletariat and bourgeois. These are on your slide, so don't worry. I'll make you write one line definition about it. And then a summary of Karl Marx on state. And then we shall move with the slide. Proletariat means poor person. Bourgeois means rich person. There is another word, another synonym for proletariat. Proletariat is poor person and have not. Bourgeois is rich person and have. I have. I'm a rich person. I have not. I'm a proletariat. I am a poor person. So, what are the two synonyms for poor person? Come on, tell me. Proletariat and have not. Have not and proletariat. Which I have not. Just remember it this way. Have not. You don't have. You have not. Okay, so you are a poor person, a proletariat. Everyone clear with this? For a rich person, there are another two synonyms: bourgeois and have. I have. I'm a bourgeois. Okay. Bourgeois and have means rich person. One word, three meanings. Bourgeois, rich, have. Same meaning. Proletariat, poor, have not. Same meaning. No issues here? Anyone having a question? Anyone having a question in these two terminology, the two most basic Marxist terminology? No one? I'm coming to the spelling part. I'll make you write everything. Don't worry. It's there on the next slide. You understood the concept, right? No, no, no. Don't spell it. Here is the spelling. Okay. Proletariat and bourgeois. This is how it is spelled, but it is pronounced the way I pronounced it. Say, everyone say it. Bourgeois. Bourgeois. Do not say bourgeois. Okay. Proletariat, bourgeois. Proletariat is have not, bourgeois is have. You saw the spelling? Proletariat is have not, bourgeois is have. Proletariat is poor. P for proletariat, P for poor. So the other one would be rich. Bourgeois would be rich. Communism is the principle of common ownership of wealth. Private property is a sin. Capital is a sin. Private property is the sin. Talk to any Marxist, okay, and they will blame private property for all the sins in the world. Whatever is bad happening in this world, you know, Karl Marx wrote a book on 1857 revolt, our revolt, Magalpane revolt, okay, 1857 revolt of India against the British, and he said it was because of capitalism that they revolted. Now, I'm not totally negating it, but this was one of the reason, not the entire reason. Okay, so for any Marxist, whatever bad is remaining in this world, whatever bad has ever happened in this world, and whatever worse is still to happen is because of, yes, yes, some people say this about Malabar revolt also. Capitalist, private property, okay, these are the main reasons. These are the only reasons for evils in this world ever. So down with capitalism. So whatever assets you have, you must depart with them. Why communist government in Bengal allowed Tata Nano? I'll explain it to you today itself. But again, you talk to any communist. Again, communist and Marxist are synonym. Communist, Marxist, leftist. In Hindi, we call it Vampanthi. Vam. Okay. You no need to remember the Hindi term, but if it's good if you do. Left, communist, Marxist. Why they are called left? Because during French Revolution, they used to sit in the left side of the parliament. Okay, that's where the term left came. Who are you talking about? Shares nationalization of women? Who said this? No, I have not read something like that. I have not read something like that. Marxist, Maoist, and Leninist. Again, okay, Hemant and everyone. I told you in the beginning we are not studying Karl Marx, we are studying Marxist theory of state, which means for this session we will restrict ourselves to what were the views of Marx on state. But we need to know certain things about him, not entire things. I will tell you each and everything related to Karl Marx when we will study political ideology. How is it different from Leninism and Maoism? How Indian communists are different from the remaining communists? Everything. Your question that Tata Nano was allowed by the communist. Uh, Talk to any communist, he will say, no, no, that's not real communism. Okay. Lenin did not do real communism. Hugo Chavez is not doing real communism in Venezuela. Castro did not do real communism in Cuba. Mao is not doing real communism in China or Xi Jinping. So, which is the real communism then? Okay. So, they have their own different versions. Karl Marx himself said, at least I am not a Marxist. Do you know this? So, let us wait for oh, Hemant. Please see, we can go on and on. CPI ML is CPI Marxist Leninist. That's a banned organization. That's a Naxal organization. Naxals are also the root. CPI M and CPI. Again, we'll come to these things. CPI was formed in 1925. Okay. M.N. Roy was the founder Communist Party of India. They had a split during Indo-China War. One part tilted towards China, the other part tilted towards USSR, and they had a split. So CPI-M was the pro-China part, CPI was the pro-Russia part, and they were operating in India. That's the tragedy of these Marxists. Jawaharlal Nehru jailed them. N. Namboodiripad, I don't know if you have heard his name. He was the chief minister of Kerala, and he blamed India for 1962 war and sided with India. Jawaharlal Nehru jailed all of them. Okay. Now, why they do this? How can you not take side of your country when there is a conflict going on? Everything we'll study in Karl Marx. Okay. Nationality is again a bourgeois concept, just like state. So let us restrict our discussion regarding Karl Marx, else we will deviate from our present module. I told you something we need to know about Karl Marx in order to discuss Marxist view of state, because you will not understand if you don't know these words proletariat and bourgeois and have not. Remaining stuffs will come in political, Western political thinkers. Okay. Karl Marx is a very important thinker for this optional paper. Every year you see something or the other related to. Last year they asked this relevance of Marxism for a 20-mark question. Okay, I'll give you the answer as well, but I would like you to answer it because we will discuss him. We will examine him in the every bits and pieces. No Marxist theory will remain unexplored in our class. Okay, each and everything. Okay, and then you can read what he himself wrote, the Communist Manifesto. It's actually a very thin book. Don't read it now. In fact, don't read it ever, but we'll study what this is. So communism is the principle of common ownership of wealth, which means private property should be abolished. Everything belongs to everyone. Okay. In political science, we call it utopia. Fairy tale like Cinderella. Too good to be true. Okay. So let no person have a claim to anything, but everyone should have a claim on everything. Okay. From each according to his ability to each according to his need is what he said, which means whosoever, whatever he or she needs shall be given to him. Okay. It seems that we are having unlimited resources in this world. Only then to each according to his need is possible. No one can say that all my full wishes have been fulfilled, right? Otherwise, it's not this world then. It's then some higher realm, maybe heaven, right? So Marx says that private property is a sin. Let personal ownership, we should do away with personal ownership. There should be societal property of common ownership. Like you have a public park, you go and sit there. That park belongs to everyone. But when you come back to your home, the home belongs to you. Marx says that the home should also belong to the public. Everything should belong to public. Are you getting this thing? He focuses not on individual ownership. He wants to get rid of individual ownership. He focuses, stresses upon collective ownership. Okay. Till here it's clear. Please let me know. Anyone who is having a doubt. Now, why he is saying so, don't ask me now. Why he is saying so? No. Marxism is nothing, there is nothing liberal about Marxist. They are anti-liberals. That is also not possible. Again, restrict ourselves to Marx theory on state. private property is a sin, let there be common property for everyone. That is it. How and why and are they liberal or they are illiberal or illogical? Let us not get into all this for now. There will be time for this. Don't worry. I'll start with Western political thought once I'm done with the theory of state. And if you want, I shall start with Karl Marx itself. Okay. So common ownership. Now, Marx's theory of state is actually a critique of liberal theory. Okay. Now, before this, all of you have your pen and paper. So please write something. Shall I start? Karl Marx believes that private property is a sin. The root cause, give a comma and write, the root cause of all evils in the world. Karl Marx believes that private property is a sin, comma, the root cause for all evils in the world. Private property should be banned. After full stop, you write this. Private property should be banned, and there should be a common ownership of wealth and all the resources. A common ownership of wealth and all the resources. Change the para. All of you all of you wrote it? No one missed anything? Nothing for me to repeat, right? Okay, change the para. Marx blame Marx blames the greed of capitalists. Marx blames the greed, lalach, the greed of capitalists to earn profit. Jawaharlal Nehru, I'm just reminded of a very interesting anecdote. If you read the biography of J.R.D. Tata, here he had a conversation with Nehruji, and when Tata told him that this is how we tend to operate and this is what we need to do, Nehru said, "Don't mention profit; it's a dirty word." Jawaharlal Nehru, in his autobiography Discovery of India, he has written that the Russian Revolution has the most profound impact on my political thought. So we are seeing the certain left tilt towards of Jawaharlal Nehru, and that is why there's this full chapter in your in this IGP, Nehruvian socialism. And when we study socialism after Marxism, we will also discuss what Jawaharlal Nehru believed in and how his 5-year plans were a Soviet hangover and things like that. Marx blamed the greed of capitalists to earn profit, and this greed exploits the working class. This greed exploits the working class. Within bracket, you write this word, proletariat. Working class, which means labor, farmer, anyone who is working for a master is a proletariat, who is not having sufficient resources. Resource here translates into wealth. A capitalist, a capitalist tends to a capitalist tends to maximize his profit. A capitalist tends to maximize his profit. Yes, yes, of course, continuation after full stop. A capitalist tends to maximize his profit, and for this purpose, he keeps exploiting the labor. He keeps exploiting the proletariat. Because when we say proletariat, it includes poor farmers, poor laborers, everyone. Proletariat is a common noun. He keeps exploiting the proletariat. Okay. So all of you know who is a capitalist, who is a bourgeois, who is a rich man. All three are same. All of you know who is a proletariat or a poor person or have not. Rich man is also have. Now, what else we discussed that Karl Marx believes that. No, please listen. Karl Marx believes that every the cause of all the evils in this world is private property, because there are people who own these properties, right? And they want to maximize their profits. So when they want to, how will they maximize their profit? When they will sell more. How do they sell more? When they produce more. When you produce more goods, only then you can sell more, right? And how do you produce more goods? When your labor is employed for a long time in your factory. Correct? Did you understand this correlation? Okay, so you want to increase your profit. For that, you need to increase your sale. How do you increase your sale? When you sell more of your products. For that, you need more quantity of product. How do you increase the quantity of your product? When your workers are working in your factory for long duration, not only 8 and 10 hours, but maybe 16 to 17 hours. This is what exploitation is. Correct? This is what Karl Marx says. That is why it's a very bad thing to do. Capitalism is such a bad thing. Private property is such a sin because all they do is to exploit the worker because they want to maximize their profit. They want to sell more. And how do you again? There are only two methods of increasing your profit. Whichever college you go and do your MBA, I wonder if anyone is an MBA here. So whichever college you must be knowing someone who is an MBA. So whichever college you go to for your business administration course in master's degree, there are only two methods of increasing profit. One, increase your sales. Second, reduce your cost. Every other thing revolves around these two things, right? यही होता है ना? Every other thing revolves around these two things. All these positioning and targeting and branding, either it will increase your sale or it will reduce your cost. Correct? You all agree? Every businessman focuses on these two things: reduce the cost, increase the sale. How do you increase your sale? That I explained to you. Make your workers work for more, make them work more, exploit them, long working hours so that more products are there in your stock so that you can sell them. Second thing, to reduce your cost, pay them very less, make them work more and pay them less because you have to reduce your cost, right? Because you have to reduce your cost. You understood? So make them work a lot and give them very low wages, peanuts, enough for him to just eat two times a meal and then turn up the next day for the work. That's it, nothing more. No savings, no extra unearned income, nothing like that. He can only survive, right, Sam? He just survives and turns up in the factory the next day for his long duration. So that is what capitalists used to do when Karl Marx was floating around, 1818 to 1883. That is what was maximum time happening in Europe and USA as well. So that is why he did theorize such and certain things. Now, how does the role of state comes here? See, two things. Again, we will not write, we will understand these things. I'll give you all the notes, and there is whatever I'm telling you right now is just a small subset of Karl Marx. So for the moment, just try to understand that. Okay. Economic factors. Okay. Economic factors. So what are economic factors? The way production is done. How is production done? You open a factory, you have a space where machines are kept, you train your workers on how to operate that machine. Like suppose a car, okay, a driving car is being manufactured. So there will be a place where the tire of the car will be manufactured, some other floor where the metallic body will be manufactured, then at some place the engine of the car will be manufactured. So there will be different types of labors operating into a car manufacturing unit. Is it all right? There will be different types of labor operating in order to make a product. So now what will happen? Division of labor, of course. So someone is into tire manufacturing, someone into engine, someone so on and so forth. Now, the way production is done, like someone getting there, someone being assigned that work, and they are performing it repeatedly every other day for years. Okay, no one knows a car, the tire manufacturer is not aware, the worker who is working into tire manufacturing unit is not aware how the engine is being manufactured, and vice versa. The worker who is working into engine manufacturing unit is not aware how the tire is being manufactured because they are specialized into their own domain. Correct. So they do not even know the entire product. They just know machine, engine, tire, steering, metallic body. That is how they identify their product, not with the complete car. Now there is a space and they are paid daily wages so that they can survive, sustain their family. Okay. And the car is being sold. They are restricted to just one skill. And then there is a certain manufacturing cost. Okay. There is a certain manufacturing cost. Suppose the manufacturing cost of a car is rupees X. All the labors coming there, the space that the capitalist has brought bought actually. The space factory belongs to him. The machines that he has employed, the training that he has imparted, and the small, okay, small, but there are so many workers. So the wages that he is giving, it's a cost for him. So car, to make one car requires a certain cost, rupees X. Now he's selling this car at X plus delta X. Something understood? He's selling this car more than the cost price. That is how you will earn profit. So this X plus delta X, this delta X amount, the difference between the cost price and the selling price is the profit. Simple class 6, 7th level arithmetic. Who will keep this profit? The capitalist will or the worker will? Capitalist or the worker? Vishnu, leave all that. Then you will add the betting charge also and the EMIs also. Don't make it complex. We are in Karl Marx era. Of course, it's not shared. Worker is getting just meager wage, not a share in the profit at all. So worker is getting a meager wage, a peanut, and capitalist is appropriating such a huge amount. Okay, so this is how the economic model is working. Did you understand this? This is how the economic model is working. And whosoever, no, there are some companies who allot shares to their, even to their grade 4 employees. Do you know this, Aditya? Infosys has given its share even to its chokidar, the guards also. So again, let us not compare what is happening currently with Karl Marx era. Okay. Now many companies do that. If you study Indian Constitution, there is a DPSP, Directive Principle of State Directive Principles of State Policy, which says that the owner must make a decision after consulting with the workers, and it's happening everywhere because capitalism has reformed. Marxists have not reformed. That's why their footprints are shrinking everywhere in the world. So now what happens that because this is how the economic model works, and who is controlling this economic model? The capitalist class is. The factory workers are not, but the factory owners are controlling it, right? So whosoever will control the economic model will control every other aspect of life. I'll repeat this with an example. Capitalist is in firm control of the economic model. He knows how much unit he has to sell, how much workers are needed, what is the amount of wage that he's going to distribute to all of them, and how long they are going to work, what will be the duration of the workers, and at what price he will sell his product in the market to earn that delta X or the profit. He is in firm control. There is nothing that the worker can do actually, because he has to survive. He has to feed himself and his family. Now what happens that whosoever controls the economic factors or economic model will control all other factors or model. The legal, the religious, the political, okay, the social, all these aspects will be in control of the one who controls the economic model. Please try to understand. Anyone who has a say, on anyone who decides how the mode of production will be carried out, which I just explained to you, will decide every other thing. What will be the law of this country, the legal model? What will be the form of governance, parliament or presidential or MPs and elected or selected or nominated? This is the political. What would the religion say? What would the church say? Religious, social. Which profession will have more respect? Which will be the upper level strata of society? Which would be the lower strata of society? Which profession will be honored? The social aspect. Everything will be controlled by the one who has a control on economic factor. Did you understand this point? Yes, Anvesh has summed it up beautifully. Good guy. Everyone read this. This is what Karl Marx is saying. The whole state would be in the hand of the capitalist because he is firmly in control of the economic, the factors, the production, how the production will be done. Firmly in control of capitalist. Now comes the question of state. So you can even say that to a large extent this is true. Are our politicians rich or poor? Have you seen the mansion of your chief minister? Socialists are a subgroup of communists. Ravi will come to them. Socialism is actually the second last stage of communism. Please wait for me to teach you Karl Marx. Okay. So all our politicians are rich or poor. They are rich. They are bourgeois. They are haves, right? Okay, so all these people are rich. So Karl Marx is also saying he said that anyone who controls the model, economic factor will control all other factors: social, cultural, religious, legal, political, administrative, everything. Correct. So state which is being run by the politicians are indeed being run by the capitalists. There are few politicians in India who are very simple and they don't have any such big assets, right? I'm sure you must be knowing some people, maybe no state, maybe India level. Tata is not a politician, Aditya. Come on. This guy Pratap Singh Sarangi, he's a cabinet minister, right? Yes, yes. I'm told that he is very, very simple and he is very much disattached, not attached with all these things. Yes, yes, yes. There are many such people. There is this guy called Kariya Munda from Jharkhand. Okay. So, largely and generally, this statement is true that even the state is being hijacked by the capitalist. And this is where the theory of state of Marxist comes into play, that state is actually a class instrument. I repeat, state is a class instrument. It belongs to the elite. It belongs to the elite class. So why would the state make such policies that would benefit the poor? It will perpetuate those policies that would benefit the capitalist because it's run by the capitalist. You cannot fight an election if you don't have money, right? Now you see. It is a critique of liberal theory. State is the executive committee of the capitalist. Okay, executive committee, which means which acts at behest of the capitalist. State is not a result of any contract. So they are rejecting which theory? You have seen it yesterday. Please tell me. It's a result of no contract. Which theory are they rejecting? Social contract. Good, Sumanta. Social contract they are rejecting. Which what was social contract? That we as a citizen are sacrificing some part of our freedom to the government so that law and order prevails. This is what social contract was, and he has been chosen to rule on our behalf, to rule us on our behalf, and we will comply with it. We will sacrifice some part of our freedom so that order prevails in society. Karl Marx says, no, no, there is nothing called social contract. State is not a result of social contract. It's a subjugation of weak by the strong. Police, army, paramilitary, intelligence, all of them are state instruments which state will you use to subjugate you. Karl Marx is saying this, that if you try to do anything, government will put police. If you try to protest, you will be lathi charged. Tear gases, shells will be blown at you. At times there can be fires, like in Singur. Someone was telling about this, right? Why communist allowed Tata Nano? So what we are seeing here, that state is not a result of any social contract between the ruler and the ruled. The strong or the ruler is subjugating means daba dena, suppressing, is suppressing the weak or the common masses. State works for the capitalist class. Okay, state works for the capitalist class, right? Why? Because it is being ruled by the capitalist. Any question here in this slide? Now you understand why Marxist theory of state is like this. Any questions? Please ask. Shall I proceed if you have no questions? I think you understood this, all of you. So state is an instrument in the hands of capitalist or elite or bourgeois or rich or haves. Correct? How many of you think this is true? Just yes or no. No explanations right now. Just yes or no. Partially no, mostly yes, yes, no, to an extent. Having understood this point, the core theory of Marxist. Now, why he is saying that? That I already explained it to you in our previous discussion. Subjugation means suppressing. State comes into being. Santosh, try to understand. State comes into being. The social contract, Thomas Hobbes says that state comes into being because of a social contract. Man needed to protect himself, his family, his society. That's why he agreed to be part of a state and he elected a leader or made a king, right? Marx is saying, no, this is not the case. It's actually subjugation of weak by the strong. So a state was formed so that capitalist can always rule on poor. That is what the third point tells us. Is it okay, Santosh? Is it all right? Now understand the instrumentalist approach. There are two approaches, instrumentalist and structuralist. Marx and Lenin are proponents of instrumentalist approach. State is responsible for class antagonism is what Vladimir Lenin said. Now, before you read this, it's written that this implies that state is not a neutral arbitrator. Who said that state is a neutral arbitrator? Neoliberals. Very good. What is Lenin saying? State is responsible for class antagonism, which means there is some confrontation going on in the society. Rich are fighting the poor because state is existing. State is not a neutral arbitrator. It is an instrument of the dominant class. State exists as long as class exists. Antagonism means opposition, confrontation, conflict. State will never resolve the class conflict, and revolution has to be done. See, Karl Marx died in 1883, and in Russia there was this rule of there was a monarch, Romanov dynasty, and Tsar Nicholas II. The Russian kings were called Tsar, Czar. So Lenin played a part in Russian Revolution. It is famously known as Bolshevik Revolution of 1917. So theories of Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels were first time put to practical use after Bolshevik Revolution 1917 of Russia. Whatever Marx wrote in theory were put to practical use in Russian Revolution under Vladimir Lenin. So for the first time in the world, we had a Marxist government, a leftist government, a communist government. Tsar was gone, monarchy was gone. Now Lenin was the leader, and monarchy was not the form of the government, communism was the form of the government. And he's saying that state is responsible for class antagonism. So what is he saying? That state is a neutral, not a neutral arbitrator. It's a class instrument, and as long as state remains, conflict will also remain. As long as state remains, because state will perpetuate conflict. That is how state exists. Okay, so for the first time in 1917 Bolshevik Revolution of Russia, Karl Marx theories were put to practical use. And see, as I told you, someone asked me socialism and communism. Socialism is the second last stage of communism. Communism is actually a algorithmic process, 5 to 6 stage process. Socialism is the second last stage. Socialism is also called a dictatorship of proletariat. Okay, because what Vladimir Lenin did, he gathered all the poor proletariat, revolted against the king, the Tsar, overthrew the king, and himself became the premier of Russia, abolished monarchy, and formed communist government. Okay, so all these poor people were given cabinet positions. Dictatorship of proletariat, right? So here only at this stage, state will become good. Otherwise, it's responsible for class antagonism. But when dictatorship of proletariat, the second last stage, it's a synonym for socialism actually. So dictatorship of after revolution. Revolution is the way. So Lenin brought the revolution, kicked out Tsar Nicholas II, the Romanov dynasty, and just was formed the first communist government in the world under Vladimir Ulyanovich Lenin, right? 1917. And what he did then? He said that now state is good. Why? Because those who were opposing state are now having the control of state. So we will work for the proletariat, right? And later on, such a stage will come when ideal communist state will be established. Everyone will have access to everything. But before that could come, Soviet Union collapsed. Nowhere in the world ideal communist state came. Those who occupied state, saying that they are the representative of the proletariat, they never left power. This is the hypocrisy of communist. Okay, once they occupy power, they sound like any other capitalist or any other politician. Have you read that Animal Farm? Good. How many of you have read Animal Farm in 1984? Wow. I'm very happy that you have read these books. Who is the author? George Orwell. Okay. These are two masterpieces. Animal Farm 1984. Anyways, those who have read it, good. Those who have not read it, now I would not advise you to read these books because we are preparing for exam. So very correctly, he was a Australian born in Champaran, Betia, Bihar. And he has given a brilliant account of all these things. He has written in a very satirical form. Okay, in ICSE, it's in entire book is there. Okay, that's great actually. Wow, I was unaware of this. So ICSE students everywhere in India read this in 9th and 10th. Karl Marx is from Germany. He migrated to England. That's actually very good. Brilliant. I thought ICSE people only read Shakespeare, Thy and Thou. In AP State Board, this is there, Venkat. Yes, George Orwell's Animal Farm and 1984 are a true depiction of the hypocrisies of Marxism. And he has such beautiful metaphors he has used. Okay, got it. So, when proletariat will occupy the power, he will help in building the ideal communist state, which never happened anywhere in the world. Soviet Union collapsed in 1991. China is communist only to the extent that they suppress their own people. The economic model is totally a capitalist one. The government of China is the biggest capitalist. The ministers are having offshore accounts. Okay, they are having black money slashed about in British Virgin Islands. So they are anything but communist when it comes to doing corruption and earning money. Of course, when it comes to suppressing their own people, they will adopt all the communist methods. Okay, because revolution has to remain, right? Similarly, North Korea, yes. Hugo Chavez, Venezuela. Fidel Castro, Cuba. Harkishan Singh Sujit, India. Okay, so this is how they come with the promise that proletariat will be doing everything, but then just go and see. Now, how can you go and see the Kremlin palaces in Russia? Where these Stalin and Lenin used to live. Okay, even heaven will be not like that. These were the lavish lifestyles that communists had. Our very own Jyoti Basu, his son is having business interests, business ventures in USA. Imagine a communist. Every year he went to USA for his blood transplant. He was suffering from cancer. Now the blood transplant process is not capitalist. Then USA becomes your savior. Okay. Sitaram Yechuri, he smokes a cigarette which costs 20 rupees now. He travels business class. Why doesn't you travel economy class? You are a communist. Okay. They have villas in Delhi. Okay. So this is what happened here. Yes. Communist until you get rich. Atheist until your plane is crashing. Okay. I won't say more. It might offend some sensibilities here. I'll say that when we'll study feminism. State is a class instrument until it is occupied by the proletariat, like Lenin did in 1917 Bolshevik Revolution. Correct? So this is the instrumentalist approach which is propounded by Marx and Lenin both. Right? And how will state exist? State will never resolve the class conflict. So the ideal thing is to occupy the state. Now, who is holding the state? State is a part. State is controlled by the one who is controlling the which factor? Economic factor. The capitalist. Correct. State is actually controlled by the one who is having control on the economic factors. Correct. So rich people will never part with power. That is why revolution is needed. And this revolution will be a bloody revolution. This is what Marxists say. Violence is the midwife of a society pregnant with new ideas, is what Karl Marx said. That violence has to happen. Else, these capitalists will never part with power. It is only through a violent communist revolution that we will, what Lenin said, we will hang the capitalist with the rope which he will sell us. Okay. And violence is the midwife. Midwife, the nurse who assists in the childbirth. Violence is the midwife of a society pregnant with new ideas. So violence has to happen. Hoga hi. They have legitimized violence. It's a part and parcel of their theory, actually. That is why Marxist regimes anywhere in the world, They have blood on their hand. Lenin, Stalin, and Mao are responsible for more death than Hitler and Mussolini. What Mao Zedong did in China in the name of cultural revolution, if you read his book, his own biography, written by probably his wife and some other writers, there he says that let us kill and bury people, it will make our soil fertile. I'll talk more about these things in communism. So revolution is the only way. This is the instrumentalist approach. State is an instrument in the hand of the capitalist. We need to occupy that. We need to take hold of that instrument. Okay. Second approach in Marxist theory is structuralist approach. Now there are more thinkers, but I have deliberately put Gramsci here because Gramsci will come very handy in Western political thought also. There is Nikos also. State is a structure in itself. Now remember someone was asking about Tata Nano and communist and why communist allowed Tata to manufacture Nano and started lathi charging their own proletariat in Singur. This will explain it. Structuralist approach will. State is a structure in itself. It's just an instrument. It has relative autonomy from the base. It's not a mere instrument. State will exercise its authority and state also has an autonomy, right? Like what Karl Marx and Lenin said, like what instrumentalists say. Marxist theory has two parts, instrumentalist and structuralist. So instrumentalists believe that state is an instrument in the hand of the capitalist. Structuralists say, no, 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 it's not entirely an instrument. Even a state tends to behave differently. Even state can refuse to take order from the capitalist. There are instances where state may not go with the instructions of the capitalist. Did you understand this? Now, why state is like a structuralist? Because the capitalist class is not a monolithic entity. Okay, it's not like entire capitalists are same. There can be industrialists, there can be rich farmers. Rich farmers means those farmers who own acres of land. Okay, there can be uh, rich craftsmen also, artists also, people whose painting are selling for crores of rupees. Like, so it's not like bourgeois is a monolithic term. There are different parts in bourgeois also. There are different components of a bourgeois class. Correct. This is what structuralists believe. Bonapartism. Okay, what is Bonapartism? Single class does not dominate. There can be feudal class, industrialist, rich farmer, etc. So state will not function as an instrument of one class because there is a feudal class. You remember who was feudal? Because someone who used to collect tax on behalf of the king. So he might also turn into bourgeois because he's appropriating so much from the peasant and he's giving a fixed amount to the king. Remaining remains with him, right? So and he's also maintaining an army, so he can also become bourgeois. Industrialists are bourgeois. There will be rich farmers, there will be traders, there will be artisans. State cannot function as an instrument of one class because bourgeois has so many subclasses. Is this point clear to all of you? This gives a lot of bargaining power to the state because all classes want state to be on their side, so a state becomes an equilibrium maker. Because feudal class also wants state to be on its side, the industrialist also, the rich farmer. So state will start negotiating between them. If rich farmers do not listen to state will start favoring the industrialist. If industrialists do not listen to state, or for whatever reasons, if industrialists are not in the good books of the state, then state will favor the feudal class. So state is using the subdivisions within the bourgeois as a bargaining ploy. Is it all right? In bourgeois, like this: feudal, industrialist, rich. State negotiates between them. In order to counter the influence of one class, state starts taking side of the other class. Sometimes they are with industrialists, sometimes with rich farmers, sometimes with feudal. Bonaparte is a state where executive remains most strong. Weak legislature, strong state. Example, India during Nehru era. Because of license permit Raj, the power with bureaucracy was very high. High power with executive means weak democracy. Let us try to understand Bonapartism. Okay, executive is very, very strong. What is an executive? Let me explain it. Executive in There are two types of executive: permanent executive and political executive. Permanent executive are the exam that you are preparing for the civil servants. Because once you clear the exam, until you retire, you will remain there. Political executive are the MPs and MLAs, which can change after 5 years, may change, may not change, right? But no one can say once I'm elected to the house, I'll remain there. No, right? So political executive and permanent executive. It is the permanent executive, the civil servants, the administrators who actually run the show. Executive remains strong. Why? During Nehruvian era, you think parliament had any role to play? Whatever Nehruji wanted, he can do it. Who will challenge him? There were only two people who could ask questions to him by looking into his eye. Anyone who can tell me? You don't know? No, Shastriji. Shastriji was, yes, Patel. Of course, Sardar Patel. The other one was Dr. Ambedkar. Patel died in 1950. Dr. Ambedkar also died in 1955 and Gandhi died in 48. During independence time, Gandhiji was irrelevant. He was not there in Delhi when Nehruji was making his famous Tryst with Destiny speech. Gandhiji was sidelined. Why? We shall study this in Indian political thought when we will study Gandhi. So no one could look into the eyes of Nehru and challenge him except for these two gentlemen, Dr. Ambedkar and Sardar Patel. Sardar Patel died in 1950, Ambedkar in 55. So Nehruji was prime minister till 64. So whatever he said, whatever he wanted, he used to get it done, passed in the parliament. There was no opposition. Where was, you think there was some BJP or something like that? No, there was Jansangh. Jansangh not even had 50 seats. Communist also had some 30, 40 seats. Your Telugu Desam was there, again a very small amount of seats they had. DMK, AIDMK, DMK was there, again very small number of seats they had. Nehruji was having more than 350 seats in Lok Sabha. Every state belonged to Congress except for Kerala, uh, Tripura and maybe Bengal. Every other state belonged to Congress. Modi ji often says कि प्रधानमंत्री से पंचायत तक आप ही लोग थे. You understood? He is alleging Congress that why didn't you do anything? From PM till Panchayat, you were there in power. It's actually the case. Of course, Mahavir Tyagi said that. Don't go into all that about China loss, right? Leave it, Santosh. Mahavir Tyagi, but then Mahavir Tyagi was just an MP. And just once he said this. He did not used to influence the policies. You can compare Mahavir Tyagi to Dr. Subramaniam Swamy, but Swamy is not as blunt as Mahavir Tyagi was on Nehru. Swamy also criticizes his own party, prime minister at times, but not in the way that Mahavir Tyagi said. All of you know about what Mahavir Tyagi said to Nehru? Okay, some other day, leave it, some other day. So during Nehruvian era, 1964, Jawaharlal Nehru ji was the Prime Minister of India. He could do whatever he wanted, and executive. Yes. An executive had all the power because we were operating under license quota permit Raj. So even if you want to start a small shop, a small manufacturing unit, which requires 50,000 rupees, you have to, lobbied for years. You have to multiple rounds of tax officers. Bureaucracy had all the power. This was Bonapartism. The executive used to exercise all the power. Legislature did not. Even judiciary, we'll study this in IGP. During Nehru's time, Supreme Court used to stay silent. It is called an era of passive judiciary. Now you see, active judiciary. Judges are very critical of the governments, both union government and state government, right? So Nehruvian era is called era of passive judiciary in political science. So who will check Nehru? He is an executive, right? So the officers are also doing what they want to. So high power with executive means weak democracy. Executive must be accountable to legislature. Legislature was full of the same yes men of Nehruji, right? Except for some loose cannons like Mahavir Tyagi, he was one of his kind. Even he was a part of Constituent Assembly, and the doubts that he has raised, if you read Constituent Assembly debates, you will know what Mahavir Tyagi was. By the way, where did you come across Mahavir Tyagi? Because maybe from that comment, the bold comment, right? Because today's kids knowing about Mahavir Tyagi is a big thing. Okay, So Bonapartism, where executive has the most power with it. State isn't completely autonomous, but only relatively autonomous. State isn't completely autonomous, but only relatively autonomous. State appears to remain neutral, but if there is a crisis, then state will stand with the haves, which means rich, which means bourgeois. What happened in Tata Nano conflict at Singur? If you know it, those who don't know it, Tata was manufacturing Nano. When it happened, communists were there in West Bengal at that time. Manmohan Singh ji was the Prime Minister of India, which means this happened somewhere around 2010, something like that, right? 2010 or 11. Yes, between these 2 years. So Tata set up its manufacturing plant at a district called Singur in West Bengal to manufacture Nano. The people protested because the land was to be taken by Tatas. Now, whenever there is a manufacturing plant being set up anywhere in the country, the indigenous people, people who are living there, will always protest because their land will be taken. Then it starts a multiple round of negotiations that I'll give you more than twice the price of your land. One of your family member will get employment in our factory. Okay, whosoever is most educated, send it to us. If he's a graduate, he will become a babu. If he's illiterate, we will make him a worker. 3 times the price of the market, and plus there will be also payment would be done. This is how industrial houses negotiate with people who own land. Please give us your land and we will give you these things. Normally, now what happens, people agree, because if things happen in a transparent manner, suppose 1,000 families are living there in abject poverty, and someone like Tata or Mukesh Ambani wants to set up a enterprise, what is wrong in that? Talk to the people. If the land is sold at maybe X rupees, Ambanis and Tatas will give you X plus delta X rupees plus employment opportunity to one member of your family for life. So now people mostly do this. But in Bengal, because communists were ruling, and the communists ruled there for 30 years. It was Jyoti Basu, then came Buddhadev Bhattacharya. So the entire environment of Bengal was anti-capitalist. Now Tata, why is Tata coming here? So people started to protest. Now the same communist government lathi charged the people who were protesting. So it was like, how can communist lathi charge poor worker who are protesting against the Tata? And Mamta Banerjee, Miss Mamta Banerjee, the current Chief Minister of Bengal, led the protest. Imagine communist beating the people, and Mamta Banerjee, the arch rival of communist all her life, she was leading the protest against Tata. Tata's finally shifted to Modi ji's place. Pro business, money Adani, so Tata's went to Gujarat. Okay, I'll manufacture my Nano over here. And that is where Nano is still being into operation. Tata plant is still there. Okay, 2008. Okay, communists lost the election. Mamta Banerjee became the chief minister. She is still the chief minister. So, weren't structurists right that state appears to be in favor of proletariat on a neutral arbitrator, but when there is a conflict like situation, what will happen? State will side with the rich. Another example I would give you. You know, there was a great depression in 2008 in US when Lehman Brothers collapsed. Now listen carefully to this. Why it happened, what was subprime mortgage crisis, ये सब आपको नीरज सर पढ़ाएंगे कभी इकोनॉमी में. So we are not going into all that. 2008 subprime mortgage crisis happened. Lehman Brothers, one of the largest investment banks of USA, collapsed, and depression came, recession came in USA. Many people lost their jobs, something like that. 2008, Obama was the chief minister. Obama was the president of USA. Obama's party, which party Obama belongs to? Democrat or Republican? And Trump belongs to? Trump is Republican, Obama is Democrat. So Democrats are supposed to be pro-poor. just like Labour Party in Britain. Okay, Democrats are supposed to be pro-poor. So what would Obama came with his Obama healthcare, right? So Obama was the president, and instead of doing something for poor, he started giving bailout packages to the big industrial houses. So structuralists are being proved right by these two instances, right? During subprime mortgage crisis, the economic recession of 2008, the ruling party under President Barack Obama, the Democrats, who are famously known to be pro-poor, they started giving bailout packages to big industrial houses instead of helping the poor. Communist Party of India, who have been ruling West Bengal for the last 30 years or something, when people protested against Tata Nano, they lathi charged, people died, police fired upon them, more than 30-40 people died on their own poor people, and they always claimed all their life that we are for the proletariat, we are against the capitalist. And this is how Mamata Banerjee dislodged them from Kolkata, from Bengal actually. Bengal was a den of communists, 30 years and still counting. Can you beat this? Okay. So this is how structuralists say that no, state is a negotiating instrument between different parts of bourgeois, different subsets of bourgeois. Kerala is having a coalition government. Communists are not ruling there in on their own, right? They are in coalition with Congress and IUDF, Indian Union Muslim League, IUML. Yes, Bonapartism is a part of structuralist approach. Communists have lost Tripura also. Manik Sarkar, longest serving CM of India. Tripura has gone to BJP. Communists are only left in JNU. Okay. So Bonapartism is a part of structuralist approach, and it tells us that what instrumentalists said, Karl Marx and Lenin, the original proponent of Marxism, Karl Marx himself said that state is an instrument in the hand of capitalist. These people, Gramsci, see, Gramsci is a neo-Marxist. Herbert Marcuse, all these people will see when we learn Marxism. We have just seen a small shade of Marxism today. What is his view on state? What is the view? State is a necessary evil or just an evil? Just an evil. There are two parts, structuralist and instrumentalist. Instrumentalists believe that state is a bourgeois instrument which always serves the bourgeois. You know what is a bourgeois? Who is a bourgeois? Who is a proletariat? And structuralists believe that no, bourgeois is not a monolithic entity. Monolithic, you understand? एक जैसा in Hindi. सब एक जैसा नहीं है, उसके अंदर भी बहुत सारा. You understand some Hindi or not? Okay. So it's not a monolithic entity. It's not a uniform class. There are subgroups within, like we have seen, rich farmers, artists, feudal lords. So state will keep negotiating with one to balance the others. And these are the, just remember these two things. You don't have to write these examples, okay? But just remember these things, because you will not have such a word limit when you will be explaining something. They will never ask you to give example of structuralist behavior in Indian politics. That would be too much. Yes, Marx said this, state is a puppet. So the Bengal Tata Nano experiment and the Obama 2008. Instead of global crisis when it arrived, instead of helping the poor people, he started giving bailout packages. Government is giving millions of dollars to big industrialists because businesses should not fail, was the assumption. Any questions still here? This was all for today. Any question? Bonapartism is a part of structuralist approach. Okay. It says that state appears to be a neutral arbitrator, but in time times of crisis, it will always side with the capitalist. Executive is having all the power. Just remember these two things. Rest everything is on slide. See, uh, against civil contempt and criminal contempt, first you need to understand Article 142 for this. It will be a long session. You have to understand what is original jurisdiction. Uh, just to give you a bit of idea, we have to study all everything. So please wait, but still, civil contempt is not as venomous as criminal contempt. If someone files a criminal contempt on you, you can go to jail. In case of civil contempt, you can get away with a fine. Prashant Bhushan, which he is facing now? Criminal contempt of court. You know why? Two tweets. Actually, Supreme Court of India has again given him a chance. And this guy is, it's not criticism. It's not criticism. It's more than criticism. Scandalizing the court. Even today, Attorney General said that please forgive him. I don't know why Attorney General said this. But then, because he has done such so much things, of course, he had a large role to play in 2G scam, in unearthing 2G scam. And of course, he has filed many petitions. But then it is as good as saying that because Salman Bhai does a lot of charity, so let us spare him for killing deers and uh, killing people with his car. This does not operate that way, right? In law, we talk about specifics. So Supreme Court has given 2 days. There will be hearing on this. Okay. 2 days Supreme Court has said that you have 2 days. If you want, you can backtrack. And Bhushan is like, no. He has quoted Gandhiji that I am standing for justice. So let us wait for 2 days. What the Supreme Court would say. If the quantum of punishment is to be decided, or maybe he will be forgiven. That's again up to the court. There is a 3 judges bench which is hearing it. So let us wait for this. Then of course I'll explain this to you. I want to read what the court says. Then I'll be in a better position to answer this to you. Theoretically, I can tell it, but let us take this once and for all. Okay. Let us wait for that. Again, what appears to be fact can be far from fact. This is not the first time when Prashant Bhushan went to the house of CGI at midnight to defer the death sentence of a convicted terrorist like Yaqub Menon that was actually conducted at a lightning speed, Sumana. And Ram, whether CGI actually broke the rules by riding that bike or he was just posing, are you fully aware of it? So that's why I'm saying, please wait, please wait for the Honorable Supreme Court of India to take a call. It's not every day that Supreme Court punishes for its contempt. When was the last time you heard this? Prashant Bhushan has the audacity to call killing of terrorists as judicial killings. He would have been booked then and there. If I were a Supreme Court judge, I would have said, bring him by his collars. When terrorists were hanged, he called it judicial killings. Then there was no contempt of court. Right? So this guy has earned it. Let us wait for the observation of the Honorable Supreme Court. This is how it should be. And this is the position you have to maintain in your exam. Do not contradict the Supreme Court. Even if the government does that, which it will not in this case. Attorney General will stand the government of India's lawyer. He said that this is my personal opinion. This is not the opinion of the government of India. If you read that article, wherever you have seen that AG has asked the Supreme Court not to do this. So there is a line that you should not cross. What is judicial killing? Any terrorist is hanged after multiple scrutiny. Session court, high court, Supreme Court, and then there is a presidential reference given. When the President of India refuses that and Supreme Court goes for death sentence only when in the rarest of the rare case. And then they call it judicial killing. How can one coin this term in a democracy? So there is a history to every individual. Okay, he would have been booked long back. Imagine Supreme Court saying that Kasab should be hanged, Yaqub Menon should be hanged, Afzal Guru should be hanged. There are other lined up. Abdul Karim Tunda, the convicted terrorist whom India brought from after extradition TT from Bangladesh. Thanks to the wonderful woman there, Sheikh Hasina, right now. So there are many shades. Please wait for the Supreme Court judgment. 2 more days it will come. We'll discuss it. That's why I said, please do not form opinion by reading one article. There is nothing called judicial killing in a democracy. Okay. I'll try to send these PDFs to you. And if not, I'll send the PPT directly. Okay. Hope this will serve the purpose. So let us call it a day for now. We shall meet tomorrow again, and the next theory we'll proceed with.